Hey, welcome back to Winnie's Book List. So today I want to first start off by saying Happy New Year's. I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful holiday season, including all the holidays: Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, winter solstice, Yule tidings. I don't know all of them, but I just want to say Happy Holidays. Also, today is January 1st. It is the start of the new year, 2019. We're really proud of my reading over 2018, and that's what we're here to talk about, kind of the stats, the numbers behind my reading in 2018. We're going to talk about how many the ratings, the number of ratings, the number of books I read, all that good stuff. So first I want to do a couple things. I want to start off by saying that there's going to be an asterisk. If I don't put one in this video, just know that this finger is making an asterisk, because I got my numbers from Goodreads. And the thing I learned about Goodreads is for you to have good stats on Goodreads, you have to be diligent about when you mark a book as complete. When you mark a book as complete, you must put the dates that you start and you finish the book in it, especially if you don't start the book on Goodreads. Like, I am notorious for just coming in randomly and putting that I finished a book. And when you do that, sometimes it actually doesn't capture it at all, or it doesn't capture it correctly. So I noticed that when I was doing this project, I noticed that it would put, like, great example. I read a book, just finished a book in December, and when I marked it as complete, when I was just doing a quick review of my stats, it had it marked for January at the beginning of the year. Like, it had it starting and finishing in January, and I was like, what's that about? So I had to go back and put the dates in. So just be careful. And if you're like me, I am very numbers oriented, not like from accounting, but because of my job. One of the many of my tasks is a lot of auditing numbers and auditing data. So I'm very much a stickler about numbers, and it was bothering me that I had to go in and fix everything. So just be mindful that if you want good stats at the end of the year, make sure that you're putting your start and end date in Goodreads. If you want to use Goodreads, maybe you're doing something else, but that's just a piece of advice. All right, so let's get into these numbers. Over 2018, I read 107 books, and for me, it was good. That's a good, because my goal was only 50 and I read 107. So that makes me feel wonderful, especially with everything that was going on last year. 2018 was probably the scariest, best year of my life. My daughter got diagnosed with a, we didn't know at the time, but a benign tumor. We thought it was, when someone tells you your child has a tumor, you know where your head goes. She had surgery. It was removed. She came out flying colors. She only had one real day of recovery. Next day up and running. Just amazing. And then we bought our first home. And then we just had so much going on. We had a lot of family stuff going on. We had a lot of good stuff and bad stuff. It was a crazy year. It was probably the most, like I said, blessing and not even curse, because everything was fine, but it was a long year. And with that going on, I was still able to read 107 books. Now, to be fair, I would say 60% of those books I listened to, because of the fact that I still had to pay some attention to my daughter, and you just got so much going on. So it was amazing that I was able to read/listen to 107 books. It was something I was going to say. And you know what kept me going and making me strive to read more books? BookTube. Just finding new booktubers and watching them and watching their excitement about books just made me want to read. So it's a big thank you for helping me motivate myself. You guys motivated me to motivate myself to read more and to not be depressed with everything going on. Yeah. So I said all that to say that. So 107 books, and let's go ahead and get into the other stats. The total pages of those 107 books was 30,486 pages. It's a lot of pages. Okay, so let's talk about in general. The shortest book I read in 2018 was 32 pages. The longest book was 720 pages. Average number of pages I read was 291. And I'm sorry, I'm looking down at my stats. I recorded, this is the second time I recorded this video, and I tried to put the stats over there, but my handwriting is so bad, and I don't have my contacts or my glasses, and I can't see it. So I put it here, so I apologize. All right, so on Goodreads, the most popular book that I read, or the most read book, I should say, was a book called Grave Mercy. I will put a picture here. The least popular book was a book called Surviving Christmas with a Marine. I will not put a picture here. You don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy, your time. The average rating of the books I read over 2018 was 3.3 stars. The first book that I actually did my first review on was a book called A Study in Scarlet Women. Anyone that's been on this channel, any video that you watched mine, you know this is a part of my favorite mystery series, and I raved about it. The last book I did a review on was a book called Duke by Default. It was a romance novel, and it was about a young man, or I shouldn't say young man, he was, I guess, old. He was battling with the fact that he was a illegitimate son of a duke, and he was never claimed. And this woman comes in his life and turns it up around and helps him find out that he's a duke. So, yeah, let's get into the other reviews. So, out of the 107, I gave 13 5 stars, 33 4 stars, 31 3 stars, 23 2 stars, and 7 books 1 star. Now, I'm going to be truthful with you. I think probably 15 of those 2 stars should have been 1 stars. So, yeah. And they give you the kind of a breakdown of when I was reading the most. And I want to start off with January. January, I read 15 books. Now, the thing about January is where I have the biggest asterisk about the number of books I read, because I know for a fact that maybe, not maybe, 5 of those belong somewhere else throughout the year. So I say I read about 10 books in February, but Goodreads says 15, so we'll just say 15. In February, I read 1, and that was around the time that we got the diagnosis from the biopsy that it was a tumor and it was benign, so it's kind of a emotional month there. So I only read 1 book. And then in March, I read 4. And then in April, kind of a slump again, I read 1. And in May, I read 7. Now, June is where I start to get out of my reading slump, and that is where I started reading romance. So around June, I started reading more romance, some smut, probably more smut than romance. So in June, I read 12 books. In July, I read 18 books. In August, I read 20 books. And in September, I read 6. And that was one of the times she was actually having surgery. October, I read 6. In November, I read 9. And in December, I read 8. So I could tell where my reading had peaked. It clearly had peaked in August. And then I tried to pick it back up in September, but I was just kind of, everything was going on with the family. And then in October and November, December, of course, the holidays. And I was just I think I had read myself out, but I wanted to finish the year strong with a good number of reading. And I was glad because I was introduced to some really good books in those months. I think I read The English Wife. I read The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hugo. And I read, what else did I read in October, November, and December? I can't remember right now, but I read some really good books in those months. Oh, one of my favorite books, and I talked about it in my Christmas haul, or my Christmas reads, was Christmas Sisters. That was a really good read. So I'm glad I pushed myself because I got some really good reading in before the end of the year. But yeah, those are the stats. Those are the stats of 2018, how my reading went. Yeah, so 2019, I just put up my goals for 2019, and I'm scheduled to read or set to read at least 60 books. I'm really excited about getting accomplishing that goal. I believe I will meet that goal. I'm not going to push myself beyond the 60 books this year because I really do want to focus on reading outside of my comfort zone, and I want to read Moby Dick, and I know that Moby Dick is probably going to be the most challenging book I have ever read outside of Frankenstein. So wish me luck with those. What are your how was your reading stats in 2018? Did you accomplish your reading goals? Did you set your reading goals for 2019? I hope so. Yeah, so let me know. I would love to talk to you guys about it.